Every morning, you make a decision that your body registers as a biological command. This isn't an exaggeration, it's physiology. Because what you eat for the first meal of the day sends a direct message to your muscles. And that message can say one of two things: rebuild, strengthen, prepare for the day. Or it can say something very different: conserve energy, reduce structure, sacrifice tissue. The problem is that most people over 55 are sending the second message every day without realizing it. And at the end of this video, I'm going to reveal the breakfast that millions of people consider completely normal, but which is actually accelerating their muscle loss every morning without anyone having told them clearly. But before I get there, I want to ask you something. Pause, just for a moment. Remember exactly what you ate first thing this morning when you woke up. Was it just coffee, maybe with a sweet roll or a bowl of oatmeal, which you were always told was the best thing ever? Healthy, maybe a glass of juice and a tortilla, or just the usual coffee, because there wasn't time for anything else. If your morning started like this, I need to tell you something important. Don't blame yourself. No one taught us that the secret isn't in eating something for breakfast, but in eating breakfast strategically, but very possibly without knowing it. That breakfast is contributing to your muscles wearing down faster than your body can repair them. And that changes everything, because if the problem has a name and a cause, it also has a solution. I'm Dr. Raul Navarro, a physician specializing in clinical nutrition and anti-aging medicine, with more than 15 years, working with adults between 55 and 80 years old who want to regain strength, independence, and quality of life, without depending on expensive supplements or impossible changes. Hello, today I'm going to share with you something that is almost never explained with this clarity in a traditional consultation. But before continuing, I want to ask you a very simple favor. Write to me in the comments where you are from, you're watching us today. And how old are you? I read them all. It's very important for me to know who I'm talking to because this information is designed for people like you, not for the general public. Okay, let's get to the heart of the matter. Starting around age 40, something begins to happen in our bodies silently. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't warn us, it doesn't generate immediate symptoms that make us think something is wrong, but it starts to happen. We begin to lose muscle mass gradually, slowly, almost imperceptibly at first. And when we cross the age of 60, that process stops being discreet and becomes visible. Our legs feel thinner, our hand strength decreases, it's hard to get up from a chair without support, and climbing stairs becomes an effort that didn't exist before. Many patients come to my office convinced that all of this is simply age, that muscle loss is just how the body works, that it's a biological sentence with no remedy. And here's the biggest mistake I see in my daily work: the muscle. It doesn't disappear just because you got older. Muscle shrinks because it stopped receiving the correct signal to rebuild, and that, understand this well, completely changes the picture. Not because of the why, but because if the problem is a missing signal, the solution is learning to send that signal correctly. And that signal often starts with the first meal of the day. Let me explain the mechanism because understanding the why is what makes everything else make sense. Every night while you sleep, your body doesn't fully rest. It goes into repair mode. It's like a kitchen in the wee hours. The cooks are ready, the ingredients are on the table, and everything is prepared to work. The muscle fibers that were damaged during the day, walking, getting up, carrying groceries, simply standing, are waiting to be repaired. But for that repair to happen, the body needs a specific material, not just any material, but protein. And within protein, there's a key amino acid called leucine. Think of it as the fire that ignites the stove. Without enough leucine, the cooks are ready, but the kitchen isn't starting. The muscle rebuilding process isn't activating with the intensity your body needs, especially after 55. And the modern problem is this: the vast majority of breakfasts we consume today don't reach the minimum leucine threshold necessary to ignite that machinery. We're not talking about bodybuilding. We're not talking about bulking up or athletes. Today we're talking about being able to get up from a chair without help, walking without feeling your legs give out, carrying a grandchild without fear of falling. That's independence. And that's exactly what's at stake. That's why today I want to share with you what I call the protocol. As if I were sitting across from you in my office, with time and without rushing. I'm going to explain this protocol that I designed, specifically for adults over 55, who want to rebuild muscle without complications, without spending a fortune, and without changing everything they already do. The protocol has 3 pillars, and each letter represents one. The P stands for threshold protein, meaning reaching the minimum amount of quality protein, specifically leucine, to ignite the muscle building process. It's not enough to just eat some protein. You have to reach the threshold. The R stands for inflammation reduction, because after age 60, the problem is no longer just how much muscle you have. It's how that muscle responds to signals, and the silent inflammation that accumulates over the years directly interferes with that response. Reducing it clears the way so the signal can arrive clearly. The O stands for daily biological order. The body responds to consistency. It's not an occasional breakfast, it's the same signal, repeated every day, that convinces the body that it's worthwhile to maintain and invest in muscle. The 3 breakfasts I'm going to show you are designed to activate one or more of these pillars. It's not by chance. It's a strategy applied with physiological logic. Let's start with the first breakfast. 3 whole eggs, plus 200 grams of plain unsweetened Greek yogurt, plus a cup of berries, plus a small handful of nuts. This breakfast directly activates the P pillar, threshold protein. But before I explain why it works, I want to tell you something I hear constantly. Many patients tell me, "Doctor, I already eat eggs for breakfast, and I don't notice any difference." And almost always, my answer is the same. You're probably eating them, but you're not getting the right amount or the right combination for your body to react. Here's the detail that makes all the difference. When I talk about eggs, I don't mean just one. I'm talking about 3 large whole eggs. Because with that amount, you get between 18 and 21 g of very high-quality protein, with approximately 2 g of leucine. And remember, leucine is the fire that ignites the stove. Without enough leucine, the switch for muscle rebuilding doesn't flip with the force your body needs, especially after 50. But we don't stop there. When you add 200 grams of plain Greek yogurt, without added sugar, is adding an extra 18 to 20 grams of protein. And without realizing it, you're already exceeding 35 g of protein in a single meal. That means you're reaching the leucine threshold, necessary to activate the biological pathway that tells the muscle it's time to grow, to repair, to get stronger. That's what many people don't know. It's not just about eating protein. It's about eating enough protein of the right quality so that the body reacts correctly. Now add a cup of berries, strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, whatever you find. They're not just there for the flavor. They're there because they provide powerful antioxidants that protect the muscle from the damage that occurs naturally with every movement. Every muscle contraction generates a certain level of internal stress. If we don't protect the tissue, recovery becomes slower, and after age 60, that slowness becomes noticeable. And finally, a small handful of walnuts, about 20 or 25 g. This provides healthy fats, plant-based omega-3s, and magnesium, elements that help reduce inflammation and improve the muscle's response to anabolic signals. When you combine all of this in the same breakfast, something extraordinary happens. After 7 or 8 hours of overnight fasting, when cortisol has been active and your body has been in conservation mode, this combination completely changes the metabolic message. You go from a breakdown environment to a rebuilding environment. Muscle protein synthesis increases during the following hours, breakdown decreases, and if you move during the day, even just walking, that movement is enhanced. Furthermore, and this is rarely mentioned, this combination generates real satiety. More than 35 g of protein along with healthy fats stabilizes blood glucose, prevents unnecessary insulin spikes, and eliminates that mid-morning energy crash that leads us to reach for pastries or cookies. It's not simply breakfast is the first strategic decision of the day. It's the moment you tell your body, we're not going to lose structure, we're going to rebuild it. Thank you. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to continue learning how to slow down sarcopenia and recover your muscles. And tell me in the comments how old you are and where you're joining us from today. I read your comments, and it helps me know how I can better serve you. We continue with the second breakfast. Salmon or sardines plus avocado plus seeds plus vegetables. This breakfast activates the R pillar, inflammatory reduction. And here I want to be very precise with you, because we're entering a more strategic level. When one is over 60, the problem is no longer just how much muscle you have. The problem is how that muscle responds to stimuli. You may be eating protein, but if the internal environment isn't right, that protein doesn't turn into strong tissue with the same efficiency. And that internal environment depends largely on the level of silent inflammation that accumulates with age. Years. That inflammation doesn't always hurt. It doesn't always show up in a routine test, but it interferes directly with the muscle's ability to rebuild. It's like trying to paint a damp wall. You can apply the best paint in the world, but if the wall is wet, it won't stick. This breakfast cleans that wall. Imagine that instead of eggs this morning, you put between 120 and 150 of salmon on your plate. Or, if salmon isn't available in your area or is out of your budget, a large can of good quality sardines, approximately 100 to 120 degree drained. Sardines are just as effective in terms of omega-3 and protein, and are much more affordable. There's no excuse not to start. That portion already provides more than 25 dri of complete protein, with all the essential amino acids and leucine, enough to activate muscle protein synthesis. But what's truly strategic isn't just the protein, it's the omega-3. In 150 of salmon, you can get between 2 and 3 g of EPA and DHA combined. In a can of sardines, a similar amount. And those marine fats have something that no other nutrient has with the same potency, the ability to reduce the silent inflammation that blocks the muscle response. When that inflammation decreases, the muscle hears the signal again and responds again. Add half an avocado, about 70 to 100 green, not because it's trendy, but because it's monounsaturated fats. Improve insulin sensitivity and allow nutrients to enter muscle tissue more efficiently. It also provides between 350 and 400 milliliters of potassium, an essential mineral, for muscle contraction and preventing leg weakness. Add a tablespoon of seeds. It can be chia, flaxseed, or pumpkin seeds. That small amount provides magnesium, zinc, and anti-inflammatory compounds. Magnesium participates in more than 300 enzymatic reactions, many of them related to energy production and muscle function. Without enough magnesium, there is more fatigue, more weakness, more cramps, and finally include vegetables, spinach, tomato, bell pepper, whatever you have on hand. A generous cup, at least 100 to 150 grams. They're not just there to accompany, they improve circulation thanks to their natural nitrates. They provide vitamin C and protect muscle fibers from oxidative damage. When you put all that together in one bowl, you're not just having breakfast. You're changing your body's internal environment. You're making the muscle become sensitive again to the rebuilding signal. It's clearing the inflammatory terrain that was preventing growth. This breakfast is especially helpful if you notice weakness in your legs or difficulty getting up from a chair. Because often this symptom isn't just a lack of muscle mass, it's a lack of muscle quality and metabolic efficiency. It's not about how much muscle you have, but how that muscle functions, and this dish works on exactly that. Moving on to the third breakfast, a strategic shake. More whey or complete plant-based protein, more milk or fortified plant-based milk, a small amount of oats, more almond butter, and more berries. This breakfast activates the daily biological order and is designed to address one of the most frequent problems I see in people over 65. There's something I constantly see in consultations. Patients who understand they need protein, who want to improve, who want to regain strength, but they simply aren't hungry in the morning. They sit down to eat and can't finish their meal. They feel full with just a few spoonfuls. Sometimes they only drink coffee. Sometimes they eat a cookie and think they're satisfied. That's enough. And day after day, without realizing it, they don't reach the minimum necessary to maintain their muscle mass. Muscle doesn't understand intentions, it understands quantities. That's why this protocol becomes a powerful tool for this group. But before describing the shake, I want to clarify something many people ask me in consultations and also in the comments. What is whey protein? Whey protein is a concentrated protein powder derived from milk that is sold in pharmacies, health food stores, and large supermarkets. It's not a medication, it's not a steroid, it's not something exclusive to young athletes. It's simply high-quality protein in a convenient format. Look for it as whey protein or protein supplement. Always choose one without added sugars. And if you prefer a plant-based option, look for a pea and rice protein blend, which together provide all the essential amino acids. Now the shake, 1 scoop of high-quality whey protein, between 25 and 30 green of powder. That already provides between 20 to 24 g of complete protein, and about 3 g of leucine, which is practically the threshold needed to activate muscle protein synthesis. That number isn't a coincidence. It's pure biology. Add 250 ml of milk, or a plant-based drink fortified with calcium and vitamin D. That adds another 8 g of protein if it's milk. Plus key nutrients for muscle and bone function. Vitamin D is not a minor detail. It participates directly in muscle strength and in preventing falls. Add a small amount of oats, about 20 or 30 g, not to load the shake with carbohydrates, but to provide sustained energy and avoid sharp glucose spikes. When the muscle has a stable energy environment, protein is incorporated more efficiently. A tablespoon of almond butter, approximately 15 g, healthy fats, and magnesium for the muscle to function properly. Magnesium is essential, and finally, a cup of berries, antioxidants that protect the muscle from oxidative damage. Every day, when you mix everything that, in less than 2 minutes, she has a breakfast that exceeds 30 grams of total protein and reaches the anabolic threshold necessary to activate muscle rebuilding. A clear, powerful, direct signal every day. That is the daily biological pillar or order. I have to tell you something before the frequently asked questions. A 74-year-old patient from Guadalajara came to my office because she could no longer get up from the chair. In the garden without support, her children helped her. She felt she was losing her independence, and that made her very sad. We adjusted only her breakfast. We started with the strategic shake 3 days a week, and the first breakfast on the remaining days. Nothing else. Without drastic changes. After 10 days, she wrote me a message that I will never forget. "Hi, doctor. Today I got up alone and went to the kitchen to make myself coffee. It doesn't seem like much, but for her it was recovering something she thought was lost forever. It was telling her family, I can still do it." That's what we're talking about, not about bodybuilding, of independence. Before revealing the worst breakfast that accelerates sarcopenia, I want to answer the 6 most frequently asked questions about this topic. Hi, first question, can I take my medication along with the protein breakfast? It depends on the medication. Some should be taken on an empty stomach and others with food. Ideally, you should follow your doctor's instructions and plan your protein breakfast around that. In most cases, the protein breakfast can be taken after your medication. Second question, is it better to spread the protein over several meals or concentrate it at breakfast? Ideally, you should distribute it throughout the day, but starting strong at breakfast is key because it breaks the overnight fast and activates muscle repair early in the day. Both are important. Yes. Third question, do these breakfasts also help prevent falls? Yes, indirectly. Improve muscle mass and strength, especially in the legs. Yes. Reduce the risk of falls and improve reaction time. This is one of the most important benefits, although less frequently mentioned. Fourth question, what do I do if I don't have an appetite in the morning? The strategic shake is exactly for you. In less than 2 minutes and without needing from sitting down to eat, it already has more than 30 grams of protein. It's the most practical solution for those who have little appetite upon waking. Fifth question, how much total protein do I need per day? In addition to breakfast, in active older adults, it is generally recommended between 1.2 and 1.6 g per kilogram of body weight per day, distributed in several meals to maximize muscle synthesis. Your doctor may adjust this amount according to your particular situation. Sixth question, can I have these breakfasts if I have diabetes? This is a very important question because sarcopenia and diabetes frequently go together in older adults. The good news is that these breakfasts are generally compatible. The first breakfast and the shake are low in fast carbohydrates, which helps stabilize glucose instead of spiking it. However, if you take medication for diabetes or have compromised kidney function, consult your doctor before significantly increasing protein, because in some cases the doses may need adjusting. Now for the worst, breakfast for an older adult who wants to preserve their muscle mass, just coffee, just fruit, bread with jam, cookies, boxed cereal. Let me tell you this as I would in a consultation, looking you in the eye, with complete honesty and without beating around the bush. When you get up and only drink coffee, the caffeine wakes up your nervous system. That's true. You feel activated, but while your brain is firing, your muscles are still in deep fasting. Between 8 and 10 hours have passed without receiving protein. During that time, the body has used circulating amino acids to maintain vital functions, and what it needs upon waking is not stimulation, but building material. If you have only fruit for breakfast, yes, you are receiving vitamins and antioxidants. No one disputes that. But from a muscular point of view, it's insufficient. Fruit mainly provides carbohydrates and water. Muscle doesn't repair itself with fructose. It needs essential amino acids and leucine in sufficient quantity to activate the rebuilding signal. And if your breakfast is bread with jam, cookies, or cereal, what predominates are fast carbohydrates. There may be some residual protein, minimal, but not in the quantity or quality necessary to send a clear anabolic signal. What does happen is an increase in blood glucose, an insulin release, and a transient energy boost. But energy is not rebuilding. Being full does not mean you are stimulating muscle. And here is the critical point that almost no one explains. After 55 years of age, muscle becomes more resistant to the anabolic stimulus. This is what we call anabolic resistance. This means that a small amount of protein is no longer enough. Something is no longer enough. You need a sufficient strategic dose, well distributed. Starting in the morning, if each breakfast is low in quality protein, the body interprets that it doesn't need to maintain as much muscle tissue. And when the body decides to conserve, the first thing it reduces is the most expensive to maintain. Muscle. If you have been eating breakfast like this until now, don't blame yourself. No one taught us that the secret is not in eating something for breakfast, but in eating breakfast strategically. Today you know this, and today you can start. If you apply the protocol of consistently, you'll notice firmer legs and arms, better stability while walking, faster recovery after exercise, and more consistent energy throughout the day. Not because these breakfasts are magic, but because you're finally working with your biology, not against it. It's not magic. It's a strategy applied intelligently and consistently. Share this video on WhatsApp with a family member or friend who wants to rebuild their muscles. It can change their mornings and eventually their lives. Discover the food that rebuilds muscle while you sleep, even if you're over 80. Click here. See you in the next video.